Hey there, welcome to Be Unmessable with the podcast. This is my turbo tip of the week. And as we are approaching the new year and just days away, this is often time when people start to make New Year's resolutions. Yes, we all know them. Some of them we keep, some of them we don't. And pretty much it's hit or miss with New Year's resolutions for most people. So I want to give you some tips on how to have your resolutions stick. I call them stick-o-lutions. So how do you have it stick? How do you get traction with the New Year's resolutions? We've all been there. We set these goals only to see them slipping away shortly after the new year. So we don't want to have mesolutions. We want to have resolutions that have the sticking power that we really want. So how do we transition them? One of the ways to do it is to treat your word like everything matters. That sounds very grandiose, but when you give your word to a resolution, like I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, then if you don't keep that word, your resolution is going to dissolve, right? But if you say you're going to get up at 7 a.m. and you keep pushing the snooze, that's your word too. And when you push the snooze button, your word gets weaker every time, unless you gave a word to push the snooze button 3 times, which is a whole other conversation that I would have with you about wasting your time doing that. Set your alarm at what time you're going to wake up and then honor your word to get up at that time. That is treating your word like it matters, even though no one else might know that you got up 15 minutes later. So it's no harm, no foul. It is a harm, it is a foul, because your word has less power to create what you really want in your life. So if you commit to meeting somebody at 7 o'clock, be there by 7. I'd say be there early, but not 7:01, not 7:02, at 7 o'clock early if you're in my camp, because that is muscle with your word. If you say you're going to do 20 minutes on the treadmill, this happens to me all the time. I say I'm going to do a certain amount of time on the treadmill, and then it's like, I could do 2 minutes less, and you start to bargain with yourself. And this is what happens with resolutions. You say you're going to go 3 times a week to the gym, and then one week you end up walking really far that week and you say, okay, that'll count for one of my gym things. And then you start to degrade your word little bit by little bit, chip by chip, chipping away at the power of your word. So if you say you're going to do 20 minutes on the treadmill, don't settle for 19. Don't settle for 1957. Do 20 minutes. Treat your word with the gravity and the weight that it deserves, and eliminate the temptation to selectively keep your word or uphold your promises. So that's the first thing, is just treat your word like everything matters. If you say you're going to take out the garbage on Tuesday, do it on Tuesday. Don't do it Wednesday morning when you wake up. Do it on Tuesday. Why? Because you said so. The second thing that will help you have your resolutions have some sticking power is you want to connect your resolutions or your promises to a bigger game. So consider the impact of your promises being kept on what really matters to you. So yeah, going to the gym 3 times, that's like, okay, I can easily justify not going and come up with a good reason. But if I can connect it to something that really matters to me, like longevity or vitality, it's like, okay, I'm not just going to the gym. I'm going to the gym inside of my vision for vitality, or I'm making those sales calls inside of my vision for financial independence. So you want to have a bigger vision that you're tying your actions and your promises and your resolutions to, so that they have a context that is bigger than just doing what you said you were going to do. So if it's, going to not spend money on coffee every day is going to contribute to your financial freedom, you'll be less likely to buy that extra Starbucks that day, or whatever brand you drank, than you will to keep your word for financial freedom, because financial freedom is really important to you, if it is. So my husband, I wrote about this in one of my newsletters, at one point he made a promise to not have Chinese food, because every time we would have Chinese food, couple hours later, we'd be hungry again and we'd have to order more food. So it ended up costing us more money than just having a dinner that didn't end up leaving us hangry in a few hours. So keep your promises because your word matters with everything, and then keep your promises connected to a bigger vision. You have no promises in life, you have no power. Some people avoid making promises or resolutions because they don't want to be on the hook for everything. It isn't about that. It's about building the muscle of your words so that when you say intimacy in my marriage, you can have it happen. When you say double my business this year, it will happen because your word has power. It's not about what you give your word to. It's that it's your word that you want to build the muscle of. This is a world to discover and investigate and play around in. It's about building your power. And if empowerment is a priority for you, then I would start practicing with promises and making promises, whether you call them New Year's resolutions or not, that you keep as a matter of your word, not as a matter of a reason or justification. So when you are truly unmessable with, what that really looks like is your word is sacred and unmessable with. It's not you as a person, it's you as what you're creating in the mode of word. You might not have control over your feelings or over your thoughts or over your circumstances or over your mood, but your word is entirely within your command. So embrace the power of promises and resolutions. Have them be stick-o-lutions by connecting them to something that is really important to you and treating your word like it matters everywhere in your life, not just the big places, but everywhere. And let me know what you discover out of taking on this practice of saying and fulfilling on what you say. Have a great new year. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Be Unmessable with the podcast. You know, I never take for granted that you've chosen to spend some time with me, and I am committed that you get value every time you do. So if you want to develop your unmessable with muscle to create life versus react to it, click below in the show notes and we will get you into our free promise game process that will enable you to start creating what you want versus waiting for what you want. I look forward to hearing back from you on what you're creating, as well as future topics for the show that might support you in being unmessable with. See you next time.